Hi everyone, it's Loretta and I have a share for you. I just made this watercolor panel for the front of a card that I'm going to send to one of my chemo buddies. However, as you can plainly see, there's a boo-boo. This mistake was made when I stamped the sentiment and I went to flatten it out and I ran my fingers right through it, and obviously the paper was still wet because the sentiment smeared. There are a few ways to fix this problem. The number one being I could just put a piece of ribbon here and put the sentiment on the inside, or what I'm hoping I can do is this. I have my little mini Misty out, and this is just a scrap of white cardstock that I'm using, and I'm going to grab a sentiment that I like. It doesn't have to be the same one. Let's see what we got here. I like the Hello Friend. We're going to do that. So I'm going to take my stamp and just kind of decide where I want it to be on this panel, because I am just going to trim this piece up. And I want to give it enough room to where I can create a fishtail. Nice thing about the Misty is there is no question as to whether or not it's lined up or not. You can see through the lid to line up the stamp, and that looks pretty good. So I'm going to use my dye base ink pad. This is Stampability's ink. I got mine at Hobby Lobby. These go on sale for 40% off all the time. I also like a couple other black inks, but in my day-to-day Copic stamping I use this or the hybrid black licorice ink from My Favorite Things. I also like Memento Tuxedo Black, as all of you very well already know. So I'm making a little bit of a mess here. That's okay. It's not going to really affect anything. Even with all that streakiness, it's not going to affect anything. So I'm just going to close my lid and stamp that down. It stamped pretty good the first time, but I'm going to ink it one more time, just get it a little bit brighter, a little darker, I guess is more correct. Okay, wow, that looks really good. Let's take these magnets off and clean my Misty door and my stamp at the same time. This is just a baby wipe. So get that cleaned up. I like to clean this up as I go along. It's like anything else. If you take care of it, it'll last. This should last literally my lifetime, unless somebody drops it. Just saying. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to grab my trimmer. Alright, I've grabbed my trimmer and I'm using this larger Fiskars trimmer, and these trimmers are really nice because they have a little tiny wire right there. I'm not sure how well that's really showing up on camera. There, you can see it in the track, and this does a few things. Number one, it keeps your paper straight, and you know where the blade is. The blade actually sits in the center of this little casing here. And Fiskars actually warrants their trimmers for life. So if something goes wrong with yours, there is an online form that you just have to fill out and they'll get back to you. Email them a couple of pictures and let them know what the problem is, and they will replace it. Now, on this one, the wire is actually frayed. I know you can't really see that on camera because it's way over here and it's really small. I peeled off all the frayed wire and clipped it so I could still use the trimmer. I could actually just trim this, take my wire snips and take that wire out altogether, and the trimmer would still work fine. I do prefer the wire, so what I did was I contacted Fiskars, took some pictures, and they actually sent me a new rail. So they sent me a whole new one of these. So when this one is completely kaput, I will change it out for the new one that they sent me, and I do appreciate their customer service. It is beyond belief fabulous. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this little puppy into my trimmer, and at first I'm just going to eyeball it because it just needs to be cut down to a more manageable piece. If I can put it on here straight, it'll cut straight kind of deal. Hopefully my head's not going to get in this shot here. So there, actually that's not too bad. I'm going to just move this up a little bit. Close the door. And straighten out the paper from that end. And that is not enough room on the bottom of it. I want it to have a little tiny bit of a border on the top and on the bottom. This is kind of a finicky piece to work with just because of its size. It's still not quite as far up as I want it. Let's just go up to that 1/4 inch mark right there. There is an opening between this side of the trimmer and this side of the trimmer where the track sits, and if you're working with a little piece like this, it tends to slip right out. But normally you're not going to have that problem because you're going to work with a larger piece of paper, and it'll act as a dam and keep it from going over to the other side, so to speak. So I apologize in advance, but you're about to see my head. Oh. Let's go a little bit even further up. Sometimes you just have to fiddle. You have to fiddle with it until you get it right. And sometimes you have that problem. Which is not a big deal. You know, I wouldn't have any trouble with this at all if I weren't filming. But because I am having a little trouble with it, I'm going to show you something I like to do. Since this is moving so much, I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of adhesive right there on the back of this little thing. Now I'm going to line it up where I want it to be. And that little adhesive is just going to hold it in place like that while I cut it. As you can see, that is pretty darn perfect. Still got the little adhesive there, so I don't have to worry about redoing that part, but I am going to move it back down to where I want it to be and cut a little bit more right off the top so that it's nice and even. So there we go. It should be perfect. We'll see. Okay, yep. Alright, so there we have it. I'm just going to rub it on this. Yep, no extra adhesive sitting there. Now, pretty. So I'm just going to take this and trim off the excess back over here. A little bit more maybe. Take a little bit of a snip into the middle, just like that. And then go from one end to that cut. Same thing over here. Go from this corner to the middle and trim it. So there we have the Hello Friend little banner. We're going to use our adhesive. This is called My Stick. It's from Scrapbook Adhesives. I do still like using my Glue Glider Pro. Just that those refills are starting to get really expensive, so and this one, as you can see, it's getting to the end. Sometimes I'll do that. Doesn't matter, it's not going to affect the tape at all. Just makes a little bit of a mess. So we're going to bring this back down, and I'm just going to take this and line it up to the one side, bring it up, and line it up. I want it straight, so here we go, fiddling again. Now, So now what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to bring my trimmer back down, and I'm going to trim this up. This is actually a perfectly A2 card size. It measures 4.5 by 5.5, as you can see right there. It's 5.5, and this is 4.5. I mean 4.25. Yep. So perfect. But I want to take a little bit off of each side. So I'm going to take it off from here. You can really feel that blade dragging on this wire. I think it's going to be sooner than later that I change this blade housing completely out. So, oops. I want that at the 1/4 inch on this side as well. And I'm not really going to cut anything off from top to bottom. There's that. Now, since this blade is dragging, I'm just going to take a emery board. This is one that's meant for artificial nails, and as you can see, it's well loved. I actually just cut mine down so it would fit in my tool caddy. So we're just going to sand off any rough edges that were left behind. You do need to scrub this fairly vigorously, especially if your file like mine is a little bit on the worn out side. And that'll just help clean it up a little bit. So there you go. I'm not sure, should we trim it down on the bottom? We can probably trim it right here to the bottom of the sentiment. Let's see what we can do with this. Remember, that wire is where that blade sits, so that's going to be pretty easy to line it up. So I'm going to go on and cut this. I didn't realize that piece of scrap was still sitting in that track there. That's actually better. So same thing, we're going to trim this part back up. I should say sand it back off. You don't really want to leave any on the back either because it creates bulk, and if you're going to be popping this up anyway, or even if you're not, you don't want it to have any extra bulk. You want it to look nice and all that good jazz. So, okay. So there's that panel finished, and I'm going to go ahead and finish this card. I will shoot a couple still pictures and include those at the end for you. If you have any questions, email me. My email information will be in the form of description somewhere in this video. My website information will be in the description box as well as in a caption here on the video as well. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, share my videos on your social media sites. Stay happy and be a blessing. Thanks for joining me today. I hope this has helped you. Take care. Bye for now.